Nothing lasts forever. Hello, my YouTube family. How are you guys doing? Today I wanted to talk about a subject that is something people need to know about, I would think. Especially if you're in some sort of a relationship, whether it's a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, man. You need to always have your finances together. Nothing lasts forever. As much as we want it to and try to work things out in a relationship, sometimes it just does not last. And I've had that issue with relationships where I had to make a decision whether to stay or whether to go. And sometimes people stay in relationships because they don't have the money to leave the relationship, so they stay in it. And sometimes that makes things worse to be in a position where you can't leave. That's a bad feeling to be in that situation. I thank God for always giving me the ability to earn an income. Even when I had children, I had to work. I had to work because I never trusted anyone enough to just take care of me. Now, in my first marriage, when I left, I was 29 years old. I moved out one day while he was at work and got my own place. I had been looking around and I found a place that I could raise my kids in. It was kid friendly. It was a playground in the back. It was a co-op type deal. School right around the corner. So I'm like, perfect. This is where we'll move to. So we moved there, and it was a beautiful place to raise kids. So we stayed there for years. And then when my second marriage came, I ended up leaving that. I was 45 when I left my second marriage, and I moved back into the condo that I was living in because I had rented it out throughout that marriage. And that was a great move, and I was so happy to move back into that place and raise my third child. I raised two boys, my two older boys in there, and then my third son, I brought him there and he was raised there, and so he got to go to the same school as his brothers and all that stuff. I moved from there and ended up with my third marriage, and when we broke up, I was unable to, the house that we had, I was unable to keep it because the note was too high. So I ended up, once it was sold, I was going to get an apartment because, let's see, yeah, my youngest son, he didn't want to move into an apartment with me, so he went and stayed with his dad until he graduated school. So anyway, by then I had met someone, and he convinced me to move into his home. He was like, oh, don't worry, you won't have to pay no bills or anything. You can live with me and we'll be fine together. And he was a nice guy at first. And so I'm like, okay. So I moved in with him. And then eventually my son graduated from high school and he ended up moving in too. And I had my dogs and everything. So I lived there with him for probably 8 months. Before, let's see, I was there when I was living there for 2 months, everything was fine. 3 months, and I started noticing his temper. And I started noticing that he started yelling at me. And then he would accuse me of flirting with the neighbor. He'd accuse me of talking to somebody when I went and walked the dogs to the park. And I would go to work. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to leave. I'm gonna have to get away from this man. So I didn't tell him that because I already saw how his temper was. So I would go and try and look for places, and he was constantly keeping tabs on me. And so one day I was at this apartment complex, and I told a girl, I said, yeah, I gotta find a place. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship. And, you know, we were talking, and she was telling me about it, and I looked, he was calling. So I ran to my car so he wouldn't hear nothing in the office. And he was like, where are you at? I said, oh, I'm in my car right now. I'm just pulling into my job. And he was like, okay, well, call me on your lunch break. I was like, okay. So I ran back in there and told her, I said, I gotta go. I said, he's already kind of trying to track me or whatever, I guess, you know. And so anyway, I decided, you know, I cannot stay with this man. So it was around Christmas time, and he had purchased me an engagement ring. And I looked, you know, we were looking at the presents under the tree, and I told my son, I said, I think he got me a ring. And my son said, well, I don't want to be here on Christmas Day when you open it. Smart kid, huh? So Christmas Day came, I opened the ring, and he was like, you know, this is just something to let you know how much I care about you and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. He said, you know, I want you to be my wife. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot accept this ring. And his face just pretty much changed to a whole different person. And he started running through the house and, you know, cursing and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. I said, what am I gonna do? So the next day, he went to pay some bills or do something. And I was like, okay. And I had actually packed a couple of bags of my clothes so that, you know, I could start packing, because I knew I was leaving by the new year. And plus I actually had found an apartment, but I couldn't move into it until the 29th or the 30th of December. So I had like 3 days before I could move in. So anyway, he went, and when he left, soon as he left, I grabbed those 2 bags, grabbed my dogs, took off. I called my son. I said, don't go back to that house. I said, don't go back to that house. I said, because I'm leaving and you stay with one of your friends or something. I said, I got to find a place to go right now. You know, he was like, what happened? I said, you know, I can't stay there. I cannot. So anyway, I called my brother and I told him I needed a place to stay. He said, okay. He said, let me run home and open the door for you. And so he's like, what's going on? I said, we'll talk about it later, because he was doing something, so he had to go back and finish up what he was doing, my brother. And I said, we can talk about it once you get home and settled, you know. And so when I told him what happened, my brother was so mad. He didn't know what to do. So anyway, when I moved out of that house, I actually had to have a police escort because I was so afraid of what he may do to me or my kids or my son. And my brother was with me, of course. And he's always got my back. And so we moved to my apartment, and what happened? But I got a small truck. I didn't realize I took so much stuff to this man's house. And so, the next weekend I had to go back and get my stuff. And he took a couple of my items that were precious to me. I had a portrait of myself my brother had drawn in high school. He took that. My son had some guns that he had got from from his dad and his grandfather, and he took those. So we were missing some things, and we knew it. We knew he took them, and but that's what it was. But the thing I'm trying to get to, I never stopped working. I never stopped depending on one person to take care of me, and and my kid or whatever. So I just want people to know that you have to always have some type of finances ready, because you got what they say, you got to have a plan A and a plan B. I keep a plan B. Even now I'm in my own little place here, And I'm thinking of something else that can make life a little better by, you know, me being able to save money while I'm on Social Security retirement. And so I'm looking at different ways where I can move to a cheaper place and still be able to maintain my individuality, or my, still be in control of my life. So that's what I want to emphasize here, is that you cannot depend on somebody else to take care of you as an adult. You have to find your own way to have your own finances. As adults, we should never depend on a man or a woman to take care of us, because you never know how life changes people or how situations change. You know, I've gone through so many changes. The older I got, the worse changes I would go through. So, yeah, this is my cautionary tale to anybody out there who's in a relationship or dealing with somebody where you guys are living together, cohabitating. Make sure you have yourself together where if the need arises, you can make that move to get up out of there. So with all of that, you guys stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. You guys take care. I love you. Mwah. Always have your own finances.